Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
This morning, I have the pleasure of speaking with another firstborn generation American, such as myself. Actress, writer, survivor. This woman's been through it all. It's the American immigrant story in a sense, as first generations go through living in both worlds. Blanca Blanco, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Such an honor to be interviewed by you. I hear great things about your show, and just definitely I'm excited to be here.
Oh, you're too kind. If it wasn't for you, I'd have nobody to talk to. So, yeah. Congratulations on your new book. You have it in the background right behind you. We have a copy over here as well. Breaking the Mold. This is a beautiful book. Your story as first generation American. You've gone through the immigrant story. You've gone through, with your parents coming from Mexico. Mine came from the Middle East. Dealing with racism, dealing with poverty, dealing with education, and being the way out in a sense for a lot of people. What made you finally decide to sit down and go, because you've been so busy working as an actress, to sit down and go, I'm going to take the time to write a book about my life and my experiences?
Well, definitely, it was during the lockdown that I was able to have more time to reflect on my life journey, and I'm like, well, now I can just write. I have nowhere to go. Nothing is open. So I will just, I know I had intentions of writing a book when I got older, but I just thought, well, obviously nobody was expecting this change in the world, with the lockdown. So it's like perfect for me that I'm able to use that time instead of just watching TV all day. I just use it to write. And that's what I did during my lockdown. I wrote my book, and it's on Barnes & Noble now. My first book.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I do have to ask about your name, Blanca Blanco. So for people that don't speak Latin-based languages, whether French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, Blanca is singular feminine, translates to white, and Blanco is masculine singular, masculine plural as well. Blanco means white. So your name literally translates from feminine singular white to masculine plural white. How fair skinned were you as a baby that when the doctor delivered you to your mother, said, here you go, she said, Blanca Blanco is the perfect name for her?
Yeah, well, my mom, she always wanted to name her first daughter Blanca, when that was her dream, as before she even got pregnant or got married, that her first child will be Blanca. So I was the first female girl, and my mom married a Blanco, but she still followed through with her goals, like I want Blanca. So yeah, it was I used to get bullied about my name too when I was in an elementary school, because it's like the same name twice. But it's just like it's the same meaning, but yeah, so it would definitely my name has shaped me into who I am, because I definitely had to put up with a lot of like craziness from it. But you learn with time. You just like, it is who you are. You can't really change your name. You have to just stick with your name. And so, but when I began applying for graduate schools or even just auditioning, most people thought it was my stage name. And when I would apply for graduate schools, they knew my name. When I would call, I'm like, hi, this is Blanca. I'm checking the status of my application. They're like, oh, are you Blanca Blanco? And I'm like, wow. So that happened in a lot of graduate schools. So I think that was great, because you have so many applicants, and then for them to remember your name, that's great.
Well, you left an impression because you finished your master's degree with honors, and not too many people are able to pull that off these days.
Yeah, definitely. I knew, because of my childhood, growing up in poverty, living in Washington State, and living in a car garage with no hot water, no heating, and just going to sleep cold every night. I remember I would tell myself, like, I don't want this I need to change this life, I need to break this cycle. I cannot do this when I'm older. So what I did, I took steps. I work on improving myself every day, like learning as much as I could. I had control, I could do that. And that's pretty much what I did. I wanted to just be able to, change my future. And that's what the book is about. It's about overcoming hardships and tools and strategies that I use that help me, and hopefully they can help others. But it's not just a book about information about my life. It's about lessons that I learned, and also every chapter there's hope and courage in every chapter. So you will feel good, when you read something, because it has like all the problems that I experienced, but also the actions that I took to overcome that obstacle. So it's definitely it's a book that I've been getting a lot of reviews, and people are getting inspired. So I'm very happy to hear that.
I lost my father, and I know you lost your mother, so my condolences to you. And my father used to always say, I don't care even if you become a garbage man, so long as you have your education. That's one thing they'll never be able to take away from you. What was your parents' ideology behind getting an education and moving forward career-wise?
Well, I knew that the reason we were in that situation was because of the lack of education. My parents didn't have degrees from the US. So I knew that the key was education. So that's why I came later to LA to pursue acting, because I wanted to have my education in place. Nothing was gonna, take that away from me, And in the book I share, my father, he was very traditional. He didn't believe in education for women. He believed women belong in the house, in the kitchen, being a mom, that's it. So I had to also work on that, overcome the challenges. For him, it was when I was gonna go to college, he didn't talk to me for over a year because he thought that I was just being like rebellious for going to college. And I'm just like, really? Like, I'm trying to improve my life, so I don't have the same pattern. But he had traditional views, and so that was difficult. And my mom was supportive. She just thought, I always had these great big ideas, and she never really said anything bad. She just supported me and was like, oh, okay. Like, I would say, okay, when I'm done, I'm gonna move to LA, I'm gonna be an actress, I'm gonna do this. And she's like, oh, okay, mija, okay, good. It's like I always had big dreams, and when you live in a garage and you talk about your big dreams, people just look at you like they're like, oh, poor child. Because I remember teachers would say, like, I would tell them my plans when I'm older, and I'm gonna also, I'm gonna be an actress, and then they would be, well, let's take more a realistic approach, like, well, what are you, like, they really kind of want you to stay centered and grounded because they look at you living in a garage, and so yeah, education was, my mom was, she believed that was also the key for us.
Did they finally tell you they were proud of you when you finished your bachelor's degree, or when you finally finished your master's degree?
Oh, my mom, she was proud even when I graduated high school. She's always been very supportive. And yeah, my family, that they're proud. I was the first one to go to college to earn degrees as well. So I kind of my family say that I opened the pathway to them. Like, I was able to open doors because doors that were not open before, or like, it was like that's what the breaking the mold is. That's what it's about. It's about like breaking the pattern, and when you break a pattern, there's discomfort in the community. Because I remember when I went, and I share all this that I'm talking about is in my book, but I remember when I was in, getting ready to go to college, preparing, a lot of the community that were Latino friends, they didn't support that as much. They thought that was only for for white people. And I'm just,
no, you can say it, because the rest of the world, so I'll explain this to everybody else. The rest of the world, when they say American, and you're about to say American as well, they mean white people. So the rest of the world, when somebody says, oh, an American, they automatically think white European. And people
Oh,
forget that you and I are also now American because we were born here,
yeah,
or naturalized citizens are American.
yeah. So yeah, definitely, that was something that was, viewed as only for, white people and not for Latinos. And I just really didn't believe in that concept. I'm just like, that's like you're putting yourself in boxes. Like I would tell my friends, um, oh well, we don't get scholarships. It's like everything is for, for them. And it's like I I didn't want to get discouraged. I'm like, well, all my life I've been fighting for everything. I'm definitely gonna apply for scholarships. So I did. I got a full ride. But it was like, if I would have listened to the negativity, and then I probably would have done it. But I always been like by myself, determined to change my path, So I think I had the determination.
Well, you've overcome so much: poverty, immigration, lack of education in the family, assault, and everything else, and you're still standing. And there's something that is there for people that have immigrated to the United States, and then people like you and I who are first generation American that have one foot in the old world and one foot in the new world,
Yeah.
trying to make an identity for ourselves, because we really don't belong there and we really don't belong here type
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah, like I remember people will say to in front of my face, like, go back to your country, like people would say racist stuff and prejudice. And I just feel like I didn't belong anywhere. Like I wasn't in, like I didn't live in Mexico only a few years when I was a child. And then my whole, like I've been living in the US. This is where I was born, and where I went to school, and where I've been doing things. So it was almost like confused. I was confused about my identity, not about who I was, I'm Latin, but just what was my like where I stand, like, well, I'm not gonna go back to another country that I have all my family's here. You know what I mean? It's like my family's here. So yeah, definitely as a child, I dealt with that type of discrimination, and just because being different, like the kids bully you about everything, like having a name that is twice, having bushy eyebrows, everything. And when you're a child, you kind of have to navigate that and see that everybody goes through it, and they're just insecure people bullying you.
And you came out on the other end quite successful, so I'm thrilled for you.
Yeah. Well, I remember when people used to make fun of me with my name, like they would say Blanca Blanco, Blanca Blanco, and I would be like, someday you're gonna regret it. It's gonna be a famous name, and you're gonna be, talking to me. Like
Yeah,
I would say that in 5th grade.
they're gonna remember when, I knew her.
Yeah. And so that was when I was in 5th grade. I'm just like, I as a child, I knew that I had bigger dreams, to come to Hollywood.
And you've done quite well for yourself, so I commend you for everything that you've done on your own, and built yourself up and your own name. There are people that are going to read this book and say, she did it, I can't do it, that's just her. What do you say to the people that are that negative about themselves? And you do have a chapter in this book about talking positive to yourself.
Yeah.
What do you say to these people that, like, no, I did it, so many other immigrants did it, how many, Hollywood was started by immigrants, so many people came over and made careers for themselves. Why are you saying you can't do it?
Yes, but I will say most people that are experiencing negativity, they obviously done that throughout their life. Breaking that association, the negativity, it's also a tool that you can get from my book, because basically if you decide to look at things in a positive way, then your experience is going to be greater. Like you're going to gain so much from life than just putting yourself in a negative way. And also when you look at the problems, when you feel like, oh, I have so many problems is a heavy weight, but if you look at it as a challenge, or something that is lighter, it just gives you more determination. Like you can overcome this obstacle. And another thing, we can't change what is happening in our lives, because like you can change the poverty, you can change things like the whatever you're experiencing, but you can definitely remain in control of your perception, the way that you see things, the way that that you just like look at the world. Because attitude, the way that you view life in a positive way, you're gonna have a greater experience.
When it's in a relaxed state, because you've been through so much, is it a relief, or is it like, wait, what didn't go wrong today that I have to overcome?
No, I know life is about balance. So whenever you're having a good day, not life is not like it's definitely not it's not always gonna be like the same. So it's gonna change day to day. So I'm just like, when I'm having a good day, I'm just like, oh, I appreciate it, because I know that I'm gonna have the opposite eventually. So I want to just enjoy the moment of when I'm getting, something is great. Because then when I'm having a bad day, like a bad moment, then I just remind myself, oh, I had a great day the other day, and I remember that.
There's this new age ideology where people try to sit there and tell you, oh, always be happy, always look on the positive side, always put a smile on. And it doesn't always work. Some days you have to be emotional. Some days you have to be sad or feel lonely or feel, whatever emotion you're feeling that day. What do you tell the people that tell you to essentially suppress those emotions and just put on a happy face?
Well, suppressing emotions is not healthy, because eventually the emotions will come to surface in a worse, like in a way that you're gonna need extra help. So I would say you gotta give yourself permission to cry, to process the emotions that you're going through. Because sometimes when people feel like, oh, I just feel like, I'm so stressed, and they feel like crying, they cry for a minute or less, and then they feel better. And the healthiest way to process emotions is to allow it to happen. So I would say, like, my book is not about like, oh, just, change everything to positives, but it's about the lessons that I experienced and how I worked through it. And I do share a lot about the anxiety and the depression that I experienced, but how I worked myself to get out of it. So yeah, just, everybody's different. We all cope different ways. And so my way might not work for others, but I definitely know that I did defy the odds that were stuck against me.
What would 10-year-old Blanca living in the garage in the middle of winter in Washington State be most surprised about Blanca in Los Angeles today, the actress and author?
I definitely, little Blanca would be like, wow, like it did happen. Like dreams do come true eventually. It took years, but I took steps every day as a child, as a teenager, to make sure that I go on the path that I want, because I just felt I could control that. I want to go this way, and I'm gonna stay focused, take action. I'm not gonna go, because according to research, people that are experiencing poverty and they have all these problems, they're more likely to go on the wrong path, experience drugs or abuse, alcohol abuse, or just drop out of school, not do. That's like, according to research, that's why it's like, I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna allow that. Like, that's not gonna be my life. So I wanted to break the cycle, because I didn't want that to define me.
Yeah. You've broken the cycle. You've redefined who Blanca Blanco is. And, you lost your mother, and I'm sorry for that. And grief is something you always deal with. And what a lot of people don't realize with loss of family, and especially in that tragedy, year 2 is harder than year 1. because after the 1 year memorial, now you really realize that it's been more than a year and you still have to cope. How do you protect your mental health now, from all the bullying and the abuse and the racism and everything else? And then, in order to forge your own path, you have to stand alone, because most people don't want to go on the journey with you.
No, most people are afraid to be next to you because you are going away from the norm. I wanted to pursue an education. I wanted to do things that were, people will say unrealistic, or I just want to be white because I want to go to college. I want to, I have these dreams, but I feel that my experiences from childhood and everything has shaped me. And it has prepared me also for losing my mom in a way, because I have chapters on grief and loss and how I cope after the loss, because my mom passed away before I finished my book. And I read the book, some parts of my book before she passed away, and she was very happy with it. But we were going to write it in Spanish because she wanted to read it in Spanish. So that didn't happen, but she really enjoyed the book. And definitely, we're never prepared to say bye to a parent. I know, for me, losing my mom, it's like the deepest pain you can ever experience. No one can explain, when people lose someone and they're like, oh, I know what you're feeling. It's like, no, unless you lose your mom, then you know how you're feeling, but emotions are so complex. So what I did, I took time and I also had responsibilities after the loss. So I took time and just sometimes she would come to my mind more than other days, Yeah. And so I just try to, just allow it. And then I feel better, but I think it's only been 6 months. So it's very fresh. And the whole idea that, you love a person so much, but then the love cannot go anywhere. It's just the person is not there, is no longer in this world. And so that's why I did hospice work when I moved to LA, because I feel very uncomfortable with the whole end of life process. And I just thought I need to develop some skills there. So when I moved to LA for acting, I realized I need to get a job before, so I can pay for other things for acting. And obviously people come to LA and they go and they're waiters or waitresses or whatever. And I came and I work as a hospice therapist, and I help patients. I guided them and the family through the end of life process. And I explained everything that was happening. And I did that for 4 years. That job really challenged me, and I grew so much as a person. So when I was dealing with my mom last summer, I realized that the reason I took the job was probably to prepare me for that moment, because I was the one, I knew what was happening, and I'm guiding my siblings, okay, this is the step. It's, we gotta be prepared for this. And so I was able to be very helpful in that sense, guiding my family. So I just take it day by day, and I read books about loss, and so I just, try to, I kept all the things that I took from my mom, I have her ID card from school, and I kept her teddy bear that I gave her. Because she will sleep with it. So just little things like that I kept from her room, and it helps with my grief.
Well, I know that you dedicated the book to your mom, your siblings, your aunts, and the rest of the family. Is there going to be a Spanish translation coming out soon?
Yes, that's the goal. Yeah, because I'm getting requests also, Italian and French. So I think the book is doing really good, and it's Barnes and Noble and Amazon, and I've been getting messages from people how they're affected by the book. I mean, in a good way, they're getting inspired to write about their traumatic experiences, because I guess even some family that I extended family that message me, and so I've been getting a lot of great feedback from people. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good, because I wrote it with the intention of helping at least one person. So it sounds like it's doing its job.
What's it like when you get that feedback? Because to write a book and an autobiography is putting your entire soul on the line. It's not like acting where you sit there and you put on another character. This
I
is
know.
Blanca Blanca,
Well,
or Blanca Blanco. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, I had so much anxiety before I confirmed my book, like with a publishing company, because I'm like, okay, I always been like a private person, but I'm out in the media all the time, but I'm private as far as my personal life. Like whatever is out there is just work related, or just like, nothing related to my family, it's just like work. And so now I wrote the book, and I was like, oh, and then once I was done, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to share this with the world, because it's like people are gonna look at it like a petri dish, look at everything and then judge your life, and more bullying. I had a couple weeks of processing things, what the consequences could be of, and how I need to be prepared if I'm gonna go through this. So I'm very realistic, and so I removed some chapters, I put them back in there. I'm like, no, I have to do that. And so I took a lot of stress, honestly. Like finally, when I told my publishing company, okay, yeah, this is my last version. And I was like, oh, because I was like, oh God, this is it. Like, I'm doing something that I'm totally not I never done before, opening like all my issues.
But is it cathartic to sit there and let loose, and almost therapeutic in opening up your soul to the world at this point?
Oh yeah, it was definitely therapeutic. The whole process of writing was therapeutic. I remember I finished my book in Italy, when after my mom, I did the chapter of, which you will see, I have a chapter of my mom, but after she like passed away, I went to, like a month later, I went to Italy, and so I finished the book there. And I remember I would sit in I will be in the balcony, and I would just be typing all day, and I would be crying at the same time and typing. It was so therapeutic. But the chapter of grief and loss, like I just feel like I wanted to be very transparent and explain what I'm going through, because it's fresh. And then also later you will see the steps that I took to, like, even going on the trip, I almost didn't do it. Like the whole flight, I was crying there, but I did it. I'm just like, okay, well, when I get there, I will, at least I will feel like I completed a task, like I'm not just staying at home. So I definitely like pushed myself to get out of the, I just didn't want to do much, but I had to do it. But I finished my book there, and I was very proud of it. So when I finished my book, I came back to the US, and then I just felt like I had grown so much.
I'm only going to give one major spoiler from the book, and there's one picture in there in particular, and it's the very last picture of you and your mother together, and your mother has the rosary wrapped around her hand while you're holding hands, and this is your final goodbye to her. And it's a beautiful image in the poetry of just the lighting, the shading, and visual poetry in the sense. When you're able to do something like that for your mother and essentially immortalize her in your book, if she was still with us today, physically, for those of us that are religious people, we believe that they're still with us no matter what. What do you think she would tell you, seeing the book published and in hard copy on Amazon, at Barnes and Noble, and the reaction that you're getting from people in this positive manner?
Oh, she will be so proud, because she was very proud. Like I would work on chapters, and then I would talk with her, which is another thing with when you lose someone, you forget. You're like, oh, I'm gonna call my mom. Oh, you can't call, And so every chapter that I would share with her, like, oh, I just finished this chapter and it's about this, and then she would be, oh my God, she was always so excited. Like she would love it. And then also she loved my little bunny, little star, and my pet star, and her picture is in the title page. I don't know if you saw the little bunny. Let me show you.
Okay.
So I know that she would be so happy with having her there.
It's so cute.
So and I talk about my bunny. The reason she's there because she's part of my book, because she pretty much helped me get through the Woolsey fire in Malibu. I had just gotten her like 2 weeks before, and I was going towards the fire, and she was my little emotional support pet. Like I don't know if by choice, but she kind of took that role, you know. And so we were able to calm each other down, because, you know, bunnies are they feel human emotions, like they can really sense it. So I just definitely, like, she's like someone important in my life. So I support rabbits organizations, as you can tell.
You do a lot with your life and your time. I don't know how you find time to sleep.
Oh yeah, I always sleep good. That's one of my rules, is that I gotta sleep minimum 8 hours a day. Like I cannot function without 8. So I always, like, I'm a morning person, so I'm like an early bird, how to say, but I try to sleep early, like, so I can get enough hours. And when I travel, it's hard for me though, like international, because of the time zone. And then I'm kind of like a zombie, because I'm supposed to be sleeping and I'm up. So it takes about 3 days for me to adjust.
And right now, what other projects are you working on besides promoting the book, Breaking the Mold? Because you're a very busy person.
Oh yeah, I'm working on season 2 of Tale of Tales. It's on Tubi. It's a suspense thriller drama. I play Lola, and so it is a, you know, fun project, and we shoot in Detroit.
You know, one thing you mentioned is you have more fun playing the villain. Is this because you know the villain's mindset from being bullied by so many of them growing up?
You know, I just think it's because it's opposite for me. Like, I'm not a drama queen. You know, like I feel that I'm more like I'm like, from my group of friends, I'm always like the counselor of the group, you know, the mom of the group, you know. So playing those roles is like totally like opposite for me, and it's just like I like to challenge myself, and I just feel that it is a very complex character, so many layers to work on, and I just love the challenge part.
Blanca, before I let you go, your audience that's eventually going to read the book, you know, either in English or eventually in Spanish, French, and Italian. You know, we're looking for the international translations. At some point, it's going to be Russian and Portuguese and Greek and whatever else. What's one thing people would be extremely surprised to learn about you that didn't end up in the book?
That didn't end up in the book?
Yeah.
Well, I pretty much put a lot of information in the book, but yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I put my heart into my book. I put like a lot of information about my life. So I think that I will leave it for the sequel.
I love it. Blanca Blanco, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the book, Breaking the Mold, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, which we'll link everybody to. Your social media links will be linked as well. Congratulations on everything.
And, you know, the goal of my book is to make it a TV show.
So, okay, who's going to play Blanca then in the TV show?
I have a few actresses in mind and a few actors. So that was one of the reasons I thought we need more stories of hope. I'm going to write a book and then work on getting it on TV or film.
Bilingual show or bilingual movie?
Yeah, it will definitely be bilingual. Yeah.
I love it. See, that's our breaking story right there. Blanca Blanco has a plan to make a TV series or a movie out of her life story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Breaking the Mold is available now on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Blanca Blanco, it's been a great pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.